that's why I love the toxicity of the Gale storyline in Baldur's Gate 3, because he's an example of a guy who got with a literal goddess, a woman who, out of that whole she's out of your league, Pete, sort of thing, the whole Peter Parker, Mary Jane thing. And it was much more realistic in that he couldn't handle it. It's sort of like Huey with Starlight in The Boys, that he became so insecure because he wasn't enough for her. And this is one of these things that sucks to realize, that ideally, women like me who aren't, I got more of a paternal nurturing style than a maternal nurturing style. If I was stuck in snot and diapers all day, I that would be bad for both me and the kid. And so ideally, you find somebody with a more nurturing streak that is okay being the primary caregiver.
And I do think another huge disadvantage we have nowadays is the loss of community. Because
that too.
It used to be, it's like you had your parents and your in-laws who could help take care of the child, and even then you were friends with your neighbors.
My friends' kids, especially their sons, anything involving video games, go talk to Leanna. And they're like, I'm so glad he has you to talk to, because I don't understand what he's saying, and and I trust you on it. It really is. And parents shouldn't have to know all the ins and outs of God of War and Assassin's Creed and Spider-Man, right? And Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
It's so important to have that community. And it's like, that's what the idea of it takes a village to raise a child. I've seen some people disregard that as like communist garbage, which no. It's supposed to be just for the parents to have a support system. Because it's like, I see so many stories from new moms who are like, I just want an hour to myself to take a shower. If you were friends with your neighbors and if you were friends with the mom next door, you could say, hey, can you watch my kid for like an hour and a half so I can just take a shower? And then you switch off so that she can do it the next day or even later that day.
There was this guy, he went by Modern Dad on Twitter. Big, those I drive a monster truck for Jesus kind of guy. But he had put up this whole virtue signaling, clout chasing thing about, I'm not sure what happened, if they lost an infant or what was going on, but he posted this whole thing about how his wife wasn't coping well and she was grieving and she was lonely, and it was a whole thing about limiting their kids' screen time. I saw this because he was picking on my buddy Asher, Mary Jess' husband.
Yeah,
he was picking on Asher, not important why, but I just, whenever these guys are pontificating on Twitter, the first thing I do is go through their timeline. And I said to the guy, you have a wife, because they were a trad couple, traditional family, everything like that. I said, you have a wife that, by your own words, is lonely and grieving and needs company. And you're limiting your kids' screen time, but you are here on Twitter fighting with strangers. And he called me condescending, but he disappeared. And I just thought it was, Asher and I were laughing because it was
I remember that.
Yeah, it was just make the fake Christian blowhard magically disappear. Because I mean, there's the number of guys guys, don't worry, I will get to women regarding this. The number of guys who brag about what great husbands and fathers they are, and you see with their own writing all the cracks in the relationship, because the saying I'm a great husband and father doesn't make you a great husband and father.
No.
actually being there does. And, you know, you can be a great parent and there's no guarantee your kids aren't going to really struggle.
And here's the thing, there's this one guy in the red pill space.
Yeah.
His name's Justin Waller. Absolute just ugh, too slimy,
Okay.
skeevy. Anyway, but he went on this one podcast and he was doing an interview where he said, you know, if I have four different families and I can provide for all of them, then what's wrong with that? Well, there's no way if you have four wives and children by all four of those wives, there's no way you can give all of them the
Yep.
attention they need. And I have proof of this because the Sister Wives show is a thing. And that whole polyamorous marriage fell apart because the guy couldn't give all his children the attention they needed.
There's just no way that you can
Oh,
give
hang on. I need to clarify. That was not a polyamorous relationship. That was a polygamist. Sorry about that.
polygamous. I thought that sounded wrong, and okay, thank you. Um, I mean, the way that whole thing fell apart was just kind of glorious. Now
I
that,
never watched I never watched the show, but I've started watching some drama videos now that it's fallen apart and it's like, "Oh god, this is such a great case study."
look, there is no structure of a family or structure of a relationship that guarantees bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things can work for some people that are, this is why I want to talk about toxic relationships on top of, you know, that both people can be great people, but the relationship was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, good people doesn't mean a perfect person. And a relationship can bring out the best in you. It can bring out the absolute worst in you. And I find a lot of the really, really bad ones are people trying to plug the holes in themselves with
Mm-hmm.
a relationship, which is why I'm so down on how do I get a girlfriend? Well, you stop trying to get a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, because that means you're looking for somebody to plug a slot, or
Yeah.
you're looking to plug their slot. You're not
And
actually looking for a partner.
and like in the past we've talked about that line from Rocky where,
Yeah.
Polly asks Rocky, "What do you see in my sister?" Well,
Yeah.
we fill gaps.
Yeah.
So to be clear, that is they cover each other's
Yeah.
weaknesses. But that is extremely different from I'm just looking for someone to make me feel valid because I have this aching hole in me.
Yeah. And we see, I mean, I thought that the Rocky films, when they branched off into Creed, did show a really nuanced portrayal of a very different kind of relationship in the same space, because Adonis Creed is
Mhm.
the, you know, it is the illegitimate, we don't say that anymore, but, you know, child born out of wedlock to
He's the son
Apollo
of
Creed.
Apollo's mistress.
Yeah, he's the son of Apollo's mistress, and Apollo's wife takes him in. And I think that's lovely because she doesn't blame the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always an issue. You know, I have that issue with Caitlin Stark's treatment of Jon Snow
Mm-hmm.
in Game of Thrones. This idea that it is perfectly normal and fine for women to take out their husband's infidelities on the kid that was a result of it. Come the fuck on. That just seems out of character for Kat.
Well, I mean, not necessarily speaking to Catelyn Stark, but at the same time, we see it in reality where whenever a guy cheats, so often the woman will blame the other woman. Like there's that, I think it's either hip hop
But
or there's an
is
R&B
this where
song.
we get to talk about the toxic cell phone dynamic?
We can get to that in a second,
Yeah.
but there's a R&B song from the 90s. I think it's Brandy and Monica called The Boy Is
Yes.
Mine,
Yeah.
where I knew you would know it, where it's all they're fighting over this guy. And like, well, he said, I'm the one he wants now, and you're the past, and you can't do
Well,
what I can do. And it's like, ladies, you're both better than this. He's using both of you. maybe fight the common enemy.
Well, that's a throwback to the Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson song, The Girl Is Mine,
Mm.
which is the same dynamic. And it was interesting because that song seemed like a bit of a tongue in cheek,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But
Um,
I mean, at the same time, the stuff in The Boy Is Mine, I've seen that in reality
well,
with
and
how women react when their men cheat.
the girl is mine was two guys making a pitch to the woman,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the boy is mine was more the two women fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, but it very much is this idea that if your partner is happy, they won't cheat. And with women, it tends to be if you don't do every super kinky thing your man wants, he's going to cheat and it's your fault. And that is just such a load of garbage because both people have to be into something for it to be fun.
Yeah. And there is a point where if a guy wants certain things, and it's not even just about certain things, if a guy cheats, it's not necessarily about whether he likes you or not, because there's also so many guys who are like, oh, well, I love you. I just
We
had a moment of weakness or whatever.
we
And it,
know people who cheat are going to cheat.
mm-hmm,
And okay, let's face it, there's a difference between people who are serial cheaters
mm-hmm,
and people who, like you say, there's something going on. They made a mistake. Usually those are more, they were looking for an emotional thing or closeness. And that doesn't
well,
mean there isn't work to do, but that's not the same as someone who's it's one woman after, and the Donald Trumps of the world.
yeah. I also think there is this societal pressure that, men need to be able to pull a woman. And I think if they feel that pressure, it's like even if they're in a committed relationship, they still want to feel manly enough to be able to like get a woman's attention. And it's an extremely unhealthy mentality. And it's
I think men have not been taught how to seek emotional support. Some men
mm-hmm,
are not taught how to seek emotional support outside of pillow talk.
mm-hmm.
And that's really, it's tragic because if you can't if you can't have real friendships, you're going to pantomime a romantic relationship. You're not going to be able to make one that's really successful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way around it. Polyamory won't solve your problem because Lord, the amount of communication required to make that stuff work, I I don't know how you have time to do anything else.
there there was a Reddit post that was getting screenshotted and shared around, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's this guy who said he didn't want a divorce, he didn't want to leave his wife, but he was bored of his wife. So he suggested they open the marriage. And at first she was upset, but then she agreed.
Yeah.
And now the wife is always going out on dates and she's getting all this attention. Whereas he
Yeah.
tried to make a pass at a younger woman at work, got reprimanded. I don't remember if he got fired
Uh-huh.
or if he just got in trouble, but like, so he couldn't get a woman's attention. And whereas his wife is doing just fine and, like I said, going out multiple times a week with different guys. And he's like, and now I want to close the marriage. And when I told my friend about it, he told me I was an idiot because I didn't appreciate just how amazing and beautiful my wife still is.
And yeah, truth.
And, and I've thought about this a lot, and I'm like, how much do you want to bet the wife isn't even actually going out on dates? She's just going out by herself or going out with her friends. And I don't want to say just to spite him, but also like kind of to rub it in his face a bit.
I knew there were a couple that he was very well educated and very intelligent, miserable,
Hmm.
but she was a stripper and she got pregnant and they had the kid and she was out there throwing herself at because she didn't know she was kind of an Asterian and she didn't know how to know people liked her unless there was a sexual component.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of enjoying sex was what is this concept? This is what you do to get people to like you.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go out on dates with other women for the conversation. And
It
that's the one that there was a the thing that bothered me about this and what eventually got them really really angry at me and they said a bunch of nasty things and now we don't talk
mm-hmm.
and he kept trying to tell other people that, oh, he really misses our friendship, but it's like he knows where I am
Mm-hmm.
because he's the one that sent me the nasty gram email. He broke it. He's got to make the first move. I am not chasing him. It'll just happen again. And but it, it that there was the thing I really really disagreed with is that there was a revolving door of people coming into the house with a baby in it.
Oh God.
And that's not only a security risk, but kids have got to know who's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Stability is very very important. So if you've got an auntie or an uncle staying there for years, that's one thing, but when it's different people every few months,
Mm-hmm.
that is not good for a child.
No, you're teaching them that people will leave.
Well, yeah, you're creating an unstable environment where they don't know the idea of bonding long term
Mm-hmm.
isn't there. And that's the real significant thing in order to have a non-toxic long-term relationship work. You have to be able to set boundaries but also bond. And you know that's why all the Baldur's Gate 2 discourse is so, it's like catnip to me.
Do
It's
you
like
mean
potato
Baldur's Gate
chips and
3?
sorry, Baldur's Gate 2. 3, yes. I want, I guess that's a Freudian slip because I want people to go back and play the other games because I want them to understand the evolution of Jaheira. Because I don't think Jaheira gets enough love.
Here's the thing, a lot of series, when a new one comes out and it's popular, you'll see an episode. I suspect there are a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 fans who the 3 doesn't even register with them, so they don't even realize there's
And
two past games.
they will go back and be so bored is the problem because they don't play the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationships in the first two games, they're all audio. There's no graphic animation. That you couldn't the original game was 6 CDs, but you had to switch when you went map to map. And they were slow burns. I thought they were lovely because they were all emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And you really got kind of swept up in it, and every story was sort of somebody getting over their damage. And this Baldur's Gate 3 is very much people wallowing in their damage.
Which, I mean, it feels very accurate to a lot of what we see today of people who do continue to wallow in their damage and then go, oh, well, why doesn't anyone want to be with me? Why can't I make friends? Why can't I get a girlfriend? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
in
what?
Christianity, they talk about like the God-shaped hole, which
Yeah.
it's like every person has this need and this loneliness in them, and they need God to come and fill it. It's not God-shaped. It's called your trauma,
Yeah.
and it, God is a placebo. effectively.
God is a placebo. That, oh my God, that's an album. I love that. God is a placebo. It it is.
but
I mean,
it's because like I also said the same thing where it's like you get people who they have a hole in them and they want a relationship to try and fill that
yeah.
hole. It's no, you need to address your mental health, you need to address your past trauma and pain, and then you will be a mostly functional human being, and then you will probably be more likely to get into a relationship because you will actually be around people, and you won't be such a mess that you'll actually have something to give.
Well, you can get into a relationship when you're still a walking garbage fire.
Of course.
It's just that it will be the greatest thing in the world until
Till
it's
it's
the worst
not.
thing in the world. And then you will project all your trauma onto the other person.
Mhm.
And, I'm inner Kratos, right? I'm one of these people because I do kind of go, nope, and I stay there. I get the torrents of emotional abuse from people who aren't really paying attention to what I'm saying. And they don't seem to recognize that I am doing them a favor telling them where the issue is when it's small.
Mhm.
Will they still have time to fix it without it becoming a serious problem? And instead of fixing it, they rip it open further. And that is just an individual's damage.
Mhm.
There is no other explanation for that. And that's where you can be a completely functional. I've had a lot of people recently saying to me, because I've been talking about, panic and relationships in men. And I've had a lot of people saying that they feel like they're too broken for a relationship, or they're having panic attacks on dates, and they they're deeply ashamed of it. And
Mhm.
the truth is that that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's feedback.
Mhm.
You know, if you're not feeling your feelings, if you're just numb, that's worse. If your body and your brain is telling you something, listen to that, value it, validate it. That's important, because it's when you get squished so far down that feedback checks out because you're ignoring it. That's when you can become extremely abusive in a relationship and not know it.
Mhm. And here's the thing. If you're on a date and you have a panic attack or something comes up and the person freaks out, and not just freaks out, but
Yeah.
if that is enough that they're like, nope, I'm out, that's not someone you want to be with anyway. Like there's a difference. It's like don't trauma dump on a first date. Just
So many people trauma dump song on
yeah.
dates, and then they're like, it seemed to go so well, we had such a connection, and then she ghosted me. And it's like, what was the connection? It's like there's a scene in God of War Valhalla. There's an ongoing thing about how Mimir screwed things up with Sigrun, and he
Mm-hmm.
won't tell Kratos, and Kratos keeps pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And Mimir says, sometimes I think you're too reformed, brother. But Mimir finally comes out with what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically had a bout of insecurity, thought he wasn't enough, ran away. And Kratos was like, if you were not my friend, I would hit you. And it it was this is why I love this franchise, because that's self-aware. They're creating a situation where a character is making a mistake and it's presented as a mistake.
Yeah, that it's
And then,
yeah, it's one thing to meet someone and be upfront and say, hey, I have this issue,
right.
where it's like, for me, I would be like, hey, look, I have abandonment issues. I've been through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's just a thing. But that is totally different from, well, my mom did this and my dad
Right.
did that, and then I was bullied in school. No, there's a huge difference between being upfront and saying, hey, this is my issue. I have anxiety. I have this trauma. If that's not something you feel comfortable with, then, you know, let's not waste our time.
Yeah. And
And
it's so, I mean, somebody can be really good about it. And then, the important thing to realize is you're not the only person with issues.
mhm.
And
And also,
yeah.
I'm not saying put that out as a test, like to
No,
make
I get
sure they're
what you're
good.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want people. I don't want people listening to this to go, oh well, I'll do this as a test. No, it's just being mature. And because one thing a lot of people don't do when they start dating is it's like it's so important to know what you're looking for
Yes.
and not to waste time on people who they can't give you what you're looking for. Now, on the other side, you also better be able to offer something in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like it cannot. I remember when I was younger, we went to a church at one point, and the pastor was talking about how when he was younger, he heard a sermon where they were like, oh, make a list of the things you want in your spouse so
Mm-hmm.
that God knows what to give you, basically. And he
Mm.
said he had this list that he carried around, and one day he was talking to like a Sunday school class or something, and he mentioned it, and one of the kids looked at him and said, but what does she get?
Yep.
And he said it was groundbreaking for him, and it was just
Yep.
such a revelation. And it's like it's something that's always stuck with me, where it's like, yes, it's important to know what you want, but it's also really important to make sure you can give them something back. But anyway, getting back to my original point, which was it there was this TikTok video that went around of this woman who was like, look, I'm this old, I do this for work, I and just listed all these things where it's like, if you're not okay with any of this,
Yeah.
there's no point wasting our time, we can leave. And so many people were like, oh, this is the result of feminism, this is so, and I'm like, she's being honest,
Yep.
and she's saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for. If that doesn't work for you, nice to meet you, have a nice life, we can go our separate ways without wasting our time.
Yep.
And I've said before, if a woman doesn't like your hobbies, if she judges you for them,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a woman you want to be with. Same with guys.
Yeah.
It's it
A woman doesn't have to understand your Warhammer obsession as long as she doesn't try to take it away.
exactly.
Yeah. And I totally get Warhammer. So I need to play Rogue Trader. I need to. I think I'll probably like it better than Baldur's Gate 3. Not that I completely hate Baldur's Gate 3. People don't understand. I need a lot of copes with that game because so much of it just feels like it's kicking me in the face. But I want to touch on something you said about, okay, if you're not what she's looking for, okay, just a lot of guys get psyched out by the whole 666 thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what it is. If a woman is obsessed with the 666, that's not someone you want to be with anyway. Move along.
yeah, she is shallow.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, why do you care? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the big question. That's what a lot of people, the men who have this resentment towards women because of the 666, the women who have a resentment towards men because they want Shadowheart. These are not guys that these are not guys, these are not women who are going to make you feel good.
Mm-mm.
So why do you need their approval? And I really wonder if and this is total speculation, if they want a girl like that because of the status involved in having a girl who looks like she takes 3 hours to do, airbrush foundation and contour and spends, God, the amount of money these women are pumping into their faces in their 20s. you know, with
And
the fillers and the injectables and the thread facelifts and all that stuff. Like, that shit's expensive. Of course they're looking for a 6-figure bank account.
mhm. And I think you told the story once about that one guy who he dates all these women who don't like his hobbies and
Yep.
whatever because a girl in high school
Yep.
told him he could never pull a woman like that.
Yep.
And it's like
Of course, who's his favorite Baldur's Gate 3 character?
Shadowheart.
Shadowheart. It's funny
Of
because
course.
the most popular origin character to play in Baldur's Gate 3, this is fascinating to me, is Gale. As much as everybody shits on Gale and makes fun of him and knocks him and blows him up on New Year's Eve, thank you, Polish gamers. That was cruel, but very funny. I say that as a Gale fan. People assume the role of Gale, I think, because a lot of people want to play wizards and he's the pre-built wizard. But the fact that people play as Gale and then pick Shadowheart as the romance option, which was it's all the problems with Mystra repeated.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I do think that there is a certain something. It's not just that these guys are running away from, and I shouldn't say all guys. I know a couple of lesbians who think Shadowheart is good because she's nice and she listens. And it's like she's not really listening because she cares. She's listening to get like oppo research on the other members of the parties and manipulation tools to hit you with when you're feeling weak.
Yep.
And
which is extremely predatory.
Yeah, one of the things Shadowheart does, she needs to know. She needs to know what you're saying to other people. She needs to know that. And it's because she's got an exceptionally guilty conscience. She's there under false pretenses. She knows Lae'zel she knows Lae'zel doesn't trust her for absolutely valid reasons. And so she tries to triangulate Lae'zel and tries to kill her at once because Lae'zel is 100% right. Shadowheart does have the Githyanki artifact that Lae'zel was sent to get back. That's a huge problem.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. And the pity, the understanding is actually pity. Every time Shadowheart, oh, poor Will. Oh, poor Astarion. Oh, poor, shut up. That's not sympathy, that's pity. And it doesn't, the actress played her with an appropriate amount of flatness, like flat affect. That it's just sort of, she's saying it, but it's like the smile doesn't reach the eyes. Kind of thing, because she'd shank him in a minute if it didn't serve her purposes. What's she doing the entire game? Getting everybody else to go into situations so she can get Daddy, I want to be a dark justiciar. Let's go to the Temple of Shar and you can do all my trials for me, because there's literally these trials that people are supposed to pass to become a dark justiciar, but she's the least well suited for all of them. She's a cleric and there's a stealth challenge. Okay, so it's like, Astarion, can you go and get the orb for me? Because I can. I'm a cleric. I'm not good at hiding and detecting traps and things. Okay, please, pretty please. Obviously that's not Shadowheart, but that's what it read to me, right? Like, she's just getting people to do her work for her so she can get the benefit from the work other people did. And she wants to find out. So there's that. And she either becomes a dark justiciar, realizing her dream, even though she didn't actually earn it. Everybody else does the fighting for her and the puzzle solving for her. And so she doesn't actually earn it. but she gets the clout, she gets the credit. And then you get into act 3 where she wants to find out what happened to her parents.
Uh-oh.
And so again, you have to go into very, very dangerous circumstances and deal with some exceptionally dangerous people that has nothing to do with the overall mission of the giant evil brain that's going to turn people into squid monsters and take over the whole city. It's a complete sidetrack so that she can basically get personal closure. And again, it's a fight everybody else has to do in order for her to get something she wants. And you could say, oh, that's true for everyone. But come on, let's face it. Freeing yourself from an abusive slave master and finding out what happened to your parents, not exactly the same level of immediacy.
Not really, no.
You know, having a bomb in your chest that's going to go off, did they really have to do that with 2 characters? Yes, apparently they did. But kind of a more immediate problem than, I want to find out what happened to my parents. They took my parents from me. And it's like, you were raised by people. You had parents. You know, this is something you can figure out on your own time, honey child.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't an immediate problem. You know, like if there was a whole thing of people going around and finding things out after we deal with the giant mind control brain that's really, really pissed off and causing earthquakes in the city, like, all right, we can do that later. But now it's so dumb. You know, it was just, oh yeah, Shadowheart needs an act 3 thing. What are we going to do? Something totally selfish. Yay.
And that's very different from, okay, we need to stop the wild hunt. How about another round of Gwent?
But you know what? Gwent actually made sense because one, you're traveling, right? And you can only travel during certain hours of the day. It's not safe to travel at night.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went to the taverns, that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
You whiled away the hours until you could travel. Gwent did not bother me nearly as much.
And it's also one of those things where it can feel non-diegetic.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Whereas it sounds like this, I want to find my parents side quest. It's very much diegetic.
Oh, it is so, and it's interesting because very smart people I know said that Shadowheart's really not, like, she gets better in act 3, and that's true. And I do think that the character is so horrendous later on that I you know the fridge logic where, you know, late at night you open up the fridge, you go, wait a minute, that was actually terrible.
Yes.
You know, and I had that reaction to the whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, you know, and then I'm like, wait, well, no, the whole thing with her parents was actually horrific, and I only thought it wasn't that bad because everything that came before was worse. You know,
It's all relative.
just the whole. I'm sure my mother on some days would insist that I tortured her insane. And she does not say, I forgive you, I love you, you are the light for your future. No, she will tell me everything that's wrong with me and everything I didn't tell her, and every moment, you know, that I was lonely as a kid was my fault because I didn't speak up. That's what happens in real life. And that doesn't mean my mom wasn't a great mom. You know, it just means people have their failings and no one is, and it's not even, you know, the mom doesn't regain her sanity. It's the dad that, oh yeah, you tortured your mom crazy, but we understand it wasn't you. That's okay. We love you. You were the hope for our entire fucking religion. Just if we teach girls to want that, worse, if we teach girls to need that, if that is the,
or that they deserve that,
or yes, that, you know what, that's if we teach girls that that is a sign they are doing it right, these women are weapons of mass destruction. And it's
Yeah.
not that they're bad people. It's, I mean, they're torn up inside and nothing's ever enough, and they constantly feel awful and unworthy and constantly need a guy to tell them they're good. And so they get into a lot of really, really unhealthy, sexual situations and then claim they were abused.
Well, I mean, it part of what you said reminded me of, it's like, I will defend Lovecraft when people are like, oh, well, he was this or that. And it's like, okay, well, his family was extremely racist.
Yeah.
And they had their issues, and his grandfather was the one who named the cat, not him.
Well, and
But
let's
it's
face it, Lovecraft provided amusements to bored rich people who wanted an excuse to do kinky sex shit.
and it's I defend him because when he was told, when he was taught better,
Yeah.
he learned. And it's like, if Robert E. Howard had been like, dude, that's
Yeah.
that's not it. You're wrong. These other races are not inferior to you
Yeah.
just because they're different or because they were educated differently. If he'd had that and still been like, nope, I'm still gonna believe what my grandfather taught me, I
Right.
wouldn't be defending him.
Well,
Even if
it's the same way Dickens got significantly less anti-Semitic as he went along.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, and I've had people where like, I'll defend Lovecraft and be like, well, he learned later in his life. He was practically a socialist.
Yeah.
And he's one of his last letters he sent was, I realize now that these perceived differences in races are just what the people in power use to keep us all fighting each other, so we can't see what the real problems are.
And
And
that's another toxic community thing, right? The people that look at how somebody thought when they started.
yeah, well, let me
Yeah,
finish
sorry.
what
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying. So it's like, I've told people this, and they're like, I don't care. It's he still said this, he still wrote this. And it's like, if redemption doesn't exist, what's the point?
But that's the toxicity in the community. That's where I was
Mm-hmm.
going with that, right?
Yeah.
This idea that if you say one terrible thing, and let's face it, we've all done it.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'll say certain things and they're kind of brutal, and I'm like, you know what? That one, I stand by that. It wasn't nice, but it was true.
Mm-hmm.
But people think, oh, I said this one thing that was bad. Therefore, I am this thing that was bad. And I am forever this bad thing. So there's no hope. I'm just scum. You are going to take that toxicity into every relationship you have, and you are going to beat people up with it. I remember I this one person actually said to me, aren't I allowed some self-loathing?
Oh
And I'm
God.
like, and that's was what I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, inner Kratos is gonna come out. Like, no, that's for teenagers. The fact that somebody actually asked for my permission to have self-loathing, no one who cares about you will permit that. Self-loathing is not accountability. It's not guilt. It's not even shame.
Mm-mm.
Self-loathing is hating yourself, not something you've done. Why
and
would anybody who cares about you want to give you self-loathing?
and like, I I'm an advocate for, like, if you feel bad, let yourself feel that.
Yes.
And let your body work through those chemicals. That's the way to properly deal with it. But that is completely different from self-loathing.
Yeah.
It
When you have self-loathing, you have no boundaries and you don't respect other people's.
mm-hmm. And it's like, that's something you need to work through. Because like, I had a point where, years ago when I first started my YouTube channel, I was recording a video and somehow the topic got to the point where I said, I hate myself. And
Right.
I burst into tears because I realized it was true.
Right.
And so I had to work through that. And I don't hate myself anymore. I've
Mhm.
had to do a lot of work. So it's like self-loathing is valid. It is something that does happen, but
Right.
there's a difference between feeling out something bad that you're feeling and just sitting in that self-loathing. Work on it.
I
You don't even
mean,
have to get therapy. You just
this is
have to be conscious of it.
this is gonna sound really weird, and it's one of my obtuse kind of preacher things where I'm gonna say something that's gonna hook you in, um, and then it's gonna land in a place you didn't expect. Hopefully, I just showed my
Okay.
structure. This is the do it. Tell them you're gonna do it. Do it. Tell them you did it. So this is tell them you're gonna do it thing. I like talking to gun owners. I like talking to pro gun people now because there are all these conversations about mental health. And, I did the show with Akila. Akila's getting a lot of name drops this topic. We love you, Akila. You are awesome. And your fashion is amazing. And your eyeshadow and lipstick are pretty. Like, we love you. I feel so bad talking about people and naming them when they're not here because I want to crawl into a hole when people do. But I know it's not a bad thing. It's just profound introversion. But, Akila,
I mean,
talks. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say this. Every time you name drop me in a video, oh God, I love it. It makes my day.
I know, like other people who are more extroverted than me love it. And I don't do it. I'm not trying to subtweet when I don't mention people by name. I'm somebody who doesn't need credit, but I probably should get better at it. But anyway, I'm derailing. Akila's amazing.
Yeah,
and she talks eloquently about the time that she knew she had to get the guns out of the house. And gun owners who are responsible gun owners have a lot of conversations about this because they don't want their right to bear arms restricted because people aren't adults. And if people treated self-loathing and other and lashing out and other mental health weapons the same way that responsible firearms owners treat their guns, we would be so better off. Get your rage out of the house. Get your self-loathing out of the house. Get your sense of hopelessness, of I always end up here. There's no hope. This turns out this way no matter what I do. Those are loaded guns for your relationship. If you are that far down, get them out of the house. If you started thinking about certain things like that, if you think the darkness that is consuming you, somebody I love to death, I ripped a strip off of him for talking about darkness. This was years ago, and we still talk about it because every time I talk about inner Kratos and how I'm like, oh, I've seen it. Like he just totally testifies for me because I ripped at him for talking about darkness. It's like, that is not you. That is what is done to you. I will not let you internalize that. And that was me going, Kratos saying to Mimir, if you were not my friend, I'd hit you. Because friends tell friends from a loving place when they're fucking up, and they do it so that they know the sting is going to be bigger. They're going to get hurt way they're going to get hurt way worse if you don't say something that's going to hurt way less now. Those are good friends who will say it in a way that is compassionate but firm enough for you to know it's serious. And it doesn't always feel good at the time. It can take a bit to, the moderators in the Discord have been telling me, you've been telling me that I give people too many chances.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, see? Okay, we're doing it right here. I'm walking the walk, people. Watch this.
No, it's I was saying it before, but it's like, once I had Eileen to back me up, I felt more, and it's like, at first
up on me. I ganged up. I think Sapphire Cat ganged up on me too. Like, everybody just ganged up on me. Like, you need to stop. It was an intervention. It was awesome.
It's like, even because
it was so like in God of War where like Freya and Mimir and Brock and Sindri and Tyr are all going no, and Kratos is like, but I must complete the mission, and they're like, no, you don't.
It really was. And like, here's the thing, I as a child and even as a teenager, I was very poorly socialized, and that's something I'm still recovering from. So it's like there was a point you had gone days with this one guy, and you were,
and it was like the fourth guy. In fairness, you were right.
yes,
and Eileen was right, and all the
yeah,
people telling me were right. And this is one of these things of, okay, I have to. I have a reason. I have a reason, but they're still right. How do
yeah,
I validate both?
and so it's like, even I was like, Liana, I need you to take care of yourself. You've been going at this for 6 hours with this person.
Yeah.
And like, I even felt awkward saying that. And
No,
like
you were totally within your rights.
yeah, so it's like, I'm still learning how to do
You
relationships.
did that great. I did not feel criticized. I felt supported. When
Okay,
you
good.
said that. Yeah,
Good.
no, that was better. Perfect. Textbook song did good. This is such a funny conversation.
But yeah, because like I've been watching you go through this for days, and it's like it was this one guy, but so many before that, where you were like, okay, this is the conversation I had with this one and this one.
And you know what? You know what I realized is these are just the ones you guys are seeing.
Yeah,
this
I
is
totally
my
believe
life.
Yeah,
This is my life. My life is like rowing through the river Styx that is a diarrhea of criticism and abuse. Like, this is my daily.
And like, here's the thing. It's I understand why you do it. However, like I understand, I don't agree with it. But I think there are so many other people who deserve your attention more.
Yeah, that's fair.
And who
Yeah.
would benefit from it more, who would actually listen to what you're saying.
Now, here's the other side, right? Because people can do reputational damage with absolutely zero evidence.
Like, I totally get that.
I have been through so many situations where I didn't manage a toxic person or a person that had created like a toxic connection to me. And this is the stalker. And with her, I was just like, get out. Nope, you're bad. And we all saw what happened. And she keeps, in some cases, twisting things. And she keeps, in some cases, she's just completely making stuff up. I'm assuming it is a conversation she had with somebody somewhere, even if it's just, the screaming in her own head. But she's attributing it to me. And it just never, ever happened. First of all, she's not a trans woman, but it never happened even with a trans person. And
here's the thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've been in situations where I didn't like something someone said. I'm like, this was before I started to get things a bit more together. Yeah. But like, then I would be alone and I would sit with it.
Yep.
And I would just find I would follow all these dark threads.
Yep.
And just make myself even more the victim.
Yep.
Where it's like, this is treating me horribly. How dare they say that to me? See, even I have toxic traits, guys.
Well, everybody does. And that's why it's important. And I mean, that's why when guys go on about, I don't understand male disposability, we're doing an intervention onto women talking on my inherent feelings of disposability, guys. When I say I'm inner Billy Butcher, you notice all the characters I have, that the idea that I'm lost, I've done too many bad things, so I'm disposable, I don't care what happens to me. Yeah, I get it. Stop telling me I don't get it. I get it. God, well, you're going to keep telling me no matter what I do. But there is the reality that this person and other people like her don't just go after me. They go after everybody I associate with. And so I do feel a responsibility to prevent the really bad explosions, because I don't want people to have to clean up my shit because somebody just twisted things. And when one person goes nuclear, other people tend to get a little
struck
restless
by the blast.
And I am very sensitive to the fact that there are other people with, histories of rejection that always take the side of the person who's claiming that big, bad, scary, mean lady was mean to them. So very mean. And I could just see a few of these. They were going to go tell people that I threw them out. I told them to leave. And
excuse me.
Yes, I knew this was not healthy. But I'm like, okay, do I have the fight now and have 20% toxic over a week or with 4 people? Or do I let it blow? And because there are a couple of people I know aren't gone. They're gonna be back, and they're poisoning certain environments against me, and there's nothing I can do about it. I stand by what I said to them. But do I want to have the fight for a week where it's 20% toxic with 4 people? Or do I want to have the fight in public with 100 people because somebody went and told a warped version, and all these, what we call breguses in Yiddish, these grudges come back, and it's 100 people, and it's months of this shit, and they go after everybody that they see me associating with. I don't get neither. I don't get a Batman option C. I have to pick one or the other. And that sucks. But
yeah. And like I maybe it's the optimist in me that I would love for you to find a way that you don't have to give them so much of your time.
Well,
but enough that like you have receipts. So you can say this is what happened, but not 7-8 hours a day for 5 days in a row.
And I mean, the reality is sometimes with management, that is what's required. You're right that it shouldn't be that way. And unfortunately, some people, they don't, this is the whole thing of they don't mean to be manipulative, but they are manipulative. And people get very upset at me when I say this because manipulation is intentional. No, it can be subconscious. It can be learned behaviors.
I saw someone recently say that people who are abusive, it's totally planned out and they know what they're doing, and like they're criminal master. It's not.
No.
It's like we look at so many abusers. It's like, yes, there are manipulation tactics.
Yeah.
But they're not following a handbook.
Well, and also they have their reasons.
Yeah, it's they've learned what's worked over their lifetime. It's so many of these cults we've seen, like even the Heaven's Gate cult, they did not set out to take not Heaven's Gate, the Kool-Aid ones.
Oh, Jonestown?
Like Jonestown did not originally set out to be a suicide, a mass suicide. No, it was some guy really thought he knew what the answer was. The problem was he steadily went crazier. Same thing happened with Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was actually founded by 2 people. One of them died. Other guy went crazy.
Yep.
Even Charles Manson, he originally just wanted to be a pop star.
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk didn't start off this shitty.
This is true.
I mean, Steve Jobs, we know he was an incredibly abusive boss. He was a design genius, like design as in like form factor. But he was, both Elon Musk and Steve Jobs were not successful because of their damage. They were successful in spite of it. The same way George R.R. Martin is successful, not because of his writing style, but in spite of it.